You are not working for Canada. You are working for your globalist partners. I wonder how much they're paying you to betray Canada. What do we do with traitors in Canada, Mr. Trudeau? We used to hang them for treason. And you're doing that very same thing to us now. We know what you're doing.
I was going to speak. I was asked to speak here, Sheriff, good to see you. I'm telling you guys, I'm pretty appalled at what's going on. At first we sat as concerned citizens and we all wanted to figure out how to best navigate our way through this whole COVID thing, And as we realized that it's not quite as dangerous as we thought it'd be, I was absolutely appalled and cowardice, And as you're sitting there with your masks on, I don't blame you for wearing masks because I'd be hiding my face too if I was you for what you're doing. It's absolutely horrendous what you're doing to these people. I'm a business owner, and I'm telling you, our families are starving. You guys can sit here with your jobs. You can sit here and you're going to get paid. You can fall asleep in your chair like that gentleman's doing behind his mask right there, okay? And I'm telling you right now that right now we're being peaceful. And you better be happy that we're good citizens, that we're peaceful citizens. But it's not going to be peaceful much longer, okay? And this isn't a threat. I'm not a criminal. I've never been a criminal. But I'm telling you that good citizens are going to turn into real concerned and revolutionary citizens real soon. And nobody else is going to say that. I'm probably the only person that has the balls to say what I'm saying right now. That we're building, we're organizing, and we'll work with law enforcement or without law enforcement. But you won't stop us when time comes because our families are starving. And if you don't hear the seriousness of my voice, I hope you open your ears and you absolutely listen to what I'm saying. Because this is a warning for what's coming. It's not going to be peaceful much longer. It's not going to be rah-rah. It's not going to be speeches. It's not going to be gathered outside saying a Pledge of Allegiance. It's not going to be waving flags. It's going to be real. When you've seen the things that I've seen, I went to war for this country. I've seen the ugliest, dirtiest part of humanity. I've been in combat, and I never want to go back again. But I'm telling you what, I will to save this country. If it has to be against our own citizens, it will happen. And there's a million people like me, and you won't stop us.
Okay, so what do you want to say? Because they released, as you know, they released the video earlier today.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yes. What did you want? Thank you for calling me. What did you want to tell me?
Now that you all have seen the body cam footage, I have an important message for everyone in America. You're welcome. Freedom of liberty isn't dying. It's being killed, systematically and deliberately. The people killing it have names and addresses. So I got their names and addresses so I could pay them a little visit and have a heart-to-heart chat about their bad behavior. The tree of liberty needs watering. You need men of valor, patriots willing to put their own lives on the line to stand in opposition to tyranny. I would also like to apologize. I want to apologize to everyone. I messed up. What I did was really bad. I'm so sorry I didn't get more of them. It's my own fault. No one else is to blame. I should have come better prepared. I spent all my time exposing government corruption online, only to have them silence my freedom of speech as quickly as they could. They circumvented the Constitution and private industry. When the ruling class outsources the repression of your civil rights to private industry, it's called fascism. I have a lot more to say. I had a website of over 300 pages. That's 300 pages of stuff they don't want you to hear. I'm in the process of trying to set up a new site out of the reach of tyrannical global homo fascists and their internet censors.
Ask you something a little bit out of the ordinary, so prepare yourself. At this point, we're living under corporate and medical fascism. This is tyranny. When do we get to use the guns? No, and I'm not, that's not a joke. I'm not saying it like that. I mean, literally, where's the line? How many elections are they going to steal before we kill these people?
So,
Shalom, Ka'ala Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Ruach HaKodesh. The Lord, my teachers, the apostles and elders of the great millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, who are the house of David, reborn again in this generation. And Shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing their true heritage, we were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the videos we just watched and how it's starting to become a pattern of the increasing sedition we're seeing around the world, and namely here in America. But before we get into that, let's read this. This is 2nd Ezra 9:3. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, even so the times also of the highest having plain beginnings in wonders and powerful works, and endings in effects and signs. So the Bible told us that there would be signs and also events that would cause certain things to go into effect in these end times that we could use as gauges to determine how close we are to the end. Okay? And one of those gauges is this: the uproars of the people in the world. And if you've been paying attention to the news or these lessons, you can easily tell that there's been a massive increase in people rising up against their government. And the videos I just watched, though I don't condone violence, they are showing people who are frustrated to the point where they are looking at committing seditious acts. Okay, these are biblical prophecies that are literally playing out in front of our eyes. Now, this article that I read, which is where this lesson is coming from, pretty much says it all. Now, let's go read it. It says, 41% of Americans think civil war likely by 2029. Some say sooner amid chaos. And I'm in the latter, right? I'm guessing it's going to be sooner. And why is that? Well, because when you consider 2029, that's 5 years from now. Okay? And when you look at the Bible timeline, it tells us that the end time events that we're currently living under is, right, this is us now. We're about to go into the money collapse. Next is going to be the race war and riots. Really, it's just going to be sedition and people just rising up against, pretty much everything. Because again, what's happening now is that the Lord is systematically breaking down Edom's kingdom. And when I say Edom, I'm talking about the so-called Caucasian race. Because again, Edom is the biblical name for the Caucasian people in the world. Well, after the riots and the uprising, we're going to see Jacob's trouble. Okay? And the thing is remember, this is the year that Apostle Tahar coined as the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble. Now, what is Jacob's trouble? Well, let's read it. It says, martial law will be declared and the rounding up of undesirables will take place. So you see, what's happened is America's been taken over, plain and simple, by its partner, which the world refers to as the Israelis. The Bible refers to them as the Amalekites, right? The top tribe of the nation of Edom. And just like the Amalekites are destroying the Palestinians right now with a fierceness, they are going to command that same fierceness to come down upon Americans. We could already see it with the laws that they're trying to pass here, with the anti-Sem bills, the militarized police that went into these campus universities to break up these fake protests that were set up by Amalek, so that way they could have a reason to pass the anti-Semitism bills. But the point being is that in all this orchestrated chaos is going to come real violence and harm. Okay? And that's what these people in the videos that we played earlier were talking about. Okay? They seen that things had gotten to a point where a vote was no longer going to fix what is broken. Right? A lot of people feel that way. Us Israelites, we don't vote. We don't involve ourselves in this sham system. And that's because this is not our system. We have no dog in this fight. We are simply here in America or wherever we are in the world as prisoners, captives, under a form of captivity until the Lord comes and frees us. And until then, what should we do? Right? Well, we definitely do not join in these seditious acts. Okay, that is not for us to do. That's for these other nations to do, to bring down their own system, for the 2/3 of our people to get involved in, so that way they could be destroyed for not listening to the Bible. But what does the Lord say? Zephaniah 3:8. Therefore, wait ye upon me, saith Yahweh Bashem El Shai, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. So there you go. These seditious acts and the coming riots is going to all be the Lord's will. Okay? The Lord says that before he shows up, what will he if the earth is already on fire? And this is what it's talking about, right? For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. Basically meaning that there's going to basically be people just fighting. There's going to be wars going on, people rioting against the government, people invading and fighting against their neighbors, their brothers. And there's just going to be a lot of turmoil around in the world. And we're already starting to see the beginning parts of this, okay? And this is ultimately the plan of the Lord, like I said. But, in the lower realms, here where we are at, this is being orchestrated by these Edomites. And why is that? Well, it tells you in the Bible that the Lord uses these Edomites to bring the punishment upon the nations. And that also includes the martial law, which is called Jacob's trouble in the Bible, right? We're going to see a lot of 2/3 of our people being judged during this time, right? There isn't going to be an investigation into the deaths of protesters or sedition, right? Just like what happened to that lady that went into the Capitol building on January 6th, right? They shot her. Right, and pretty much they gave the guy a medal. Now the thing is this is the type of system or events we're about to go into, okay? And it's not only just me saying this or the Bible prophesying it, but even your average American, at least 41% of them, can see this happening. Right? The article says Americans have been stunned by the Democratic mega donors funneling money into Marxist groups, right? Marxist groups basically means communist, right? This is those college students who are protesting, the BLM, Antifa, all of them it's a vehicle to bring communism into America. And again, it's because Amalek at the very top is trying to bring in communism, because this is how he's going to rule the entire world, through a communist-like system that has Satanism at its core. Okay, that's Amalek or Edom's wet dream for a world empire. Continuing. Sparking mass chaos across colleges and universities nationwide as risk of mounting that BLM-style riots could spill over into city streets this summer. I doubt that. And why is that? Well, because you're seeing a lot of these university students are soft, man. So unless they get Jake somehow to come back into these protests or these riots, there isn't going to be large, BLM style riots going on in the streets, right? The reason why the BLM riots were so devastating is because our people, Judah and Ephraim, when they're put together and they really have no direction in their life, they're down for mischief, right? It tells you, what is it? It says, folly is sport to a fool. And that's ultimately what happened. Now, what's currently going on right now with these university students, these are usually Edomite kids and 2/3 kids who who have been made soft on purpose, and they're not going to riot. There may be a 1 or 2, maybe a couple of days of light rioting, but we're not going to see massive break-ins, things like that. But we are going to see like sit-ins, stuff like what we've seen over at the university, right? So again, unless these elites at the very top are able to bring Jake back into these riots for some reason, then we ain't gonna see a mass uptick in violence, other than, when people actually try to go against their government. But let's continue. It says, law-abiding Americans have taken notice of radical left-wing policies pushing this nation further into chaos, from failed progressive cities ignoring laws and order to open borders, igniting the greatest illegal alien invasion this nation has ever seen. There is a growing sense amongst the population that possibly a controlled demolition of the country is underway by the radical left. See, so people aren't dumb. The only thing is the reason why we're not seeing such a massive uptick right now and people, trying to come up against us is because when you look at the levers of society, the systems and the levers to allow the populace to speak and be heard have been removed, right? This is why TV was so amazing for these elites, because it was a one-way communication. It was a monologue, not a dialogue. And this is ultimately why they're going to shut down the internet, because the internet gives the people a voice, a place to be heard and to organize and to research, right? But the thing is when you look at voting, it doesn't mean shit. When you look at the city council meetings, it doesn't mean shit, right? The news stations taking callers, right? Same thing, doesn't mean shit. And why is this? Because the leaders of this world have set up America. They've infiltrated America and set it up in such a way where there is an illusion of choice, as the famous late great comedian George Carlin said, right? You have an illusion of choice, right? But we're all slaves, right? And why is that? Well, because currently the Edomites rule the world, and in their world, deception is the law. Okay, there's a famous saying. It goes something like, in a kingdom of lies, truth cannot be tolerated. And that's ultimately what's going on in the world right now, right? These Edomites who have taken over the entire world, right, through their many different countries that they control. And again, remember, when I say Edomites, I'm talking about the Caucasian race, right? They managed to take over the world through their banking interests, their other financial interests, their logistic interests, and military prowess. Now, in doing so, they have now made their place at home. They now believe that they're solidified in history and they'll never be wedged out, and all they got to do is take out a few certain people, and then they'll own the world forever, right? And those people that they want to take out is ultimately you Israelites, you Negro, Latino, and Native Americans. And why is that? Well, because again, the Bible tells us that us Israelites, we are going to inherit the world and be its new rulers. Now, these Edomite devils, they believe if they could get rid of us, be it through jabs, famine, war, social experimenting with the alphabet group, or orchestrated violence to prison pipeline that was set up, that they believe that they could get rid of us. But again, the Bible tells you, man, that there is no end to all the people in the world, and that ultimately those things which are written in the Bible are going to come to pass. And in fact, we're seeing prophecies in the Bible come to pass even as I speak. Let's continue. The spark that could ignite the next round of social unrest is possibly Marxist useful idiots, right? These are those university, basically Democrats, people who have been taken by the system and they really don't know what's going on. It says, some of which are professional and paid protesters on school campuses who quite literally have said they want a revolution to usher in the socialist reconstruction of America. Okay, and when you understand that these university and college students have been indoctrinated their whole life, right? Be it through their cartoons or when they got into colleges. They pretty much were seeded with the ideas that communism can work if it's done right? But they say that's socialism. But again, socialism never works because the leaders who have ulterior motives always step in and take control and then turn it into a communist type state. Okay, what's one of the first things that these leaders do when they get in power? They get rid of the useful idiots, the people who help get them into power. It says, oh here, look, an extremist on the mic says, there's only one solution, intifada, revolution. We must have a revolution so we can have a socialist reconstruction of the USA, which basically means bring in communism.
There's only one way. Just like that chant that we enjoy so much, there is only one solution. Intifada revolution. We must have revolution so we can have a socialist reconstruction of the United States of America.
And remember, a lot of these useful idiots refer to communism as socialism. So when he says a socialist reconstruction of the USA, this is really just semantics to try to make communism sound better. Now these people here, they don't want communism. They want socialism. They believe that they can usher in this new system without the violence that ultimately comes in after socialism is implemented, which leads it right to communism. But again, this is just the delusion that the Lord has set these people to believe, and ultimately it's going to be their trap. Because like I said, even though I said the Lord set them up to believe this, the Lord had his angels and perform this task, and the Lord's angels have their own people that they deal with here on earth. And those people are people like Albert Pike and these Freemasons, I'm going to go ahead and read this real quick just so you can see how these videos we just watched, including the last demonstration where that guy's calling for a socialist revolution of America, right? This is ultimately where we're at, okay? Albert Pike, a 33rd degree Freemason, was writing a letter to Italian politician Giuseppe Mazzini, explaining to him their plans. And when I say they, I'm talking about the Freemasons and really the Edomites, right? Because again, when you get into Freemasonry, when you get into the crux of where it comes from, it ultimately goes back to Herod, his lineage, and them performing the rites or the rituals which gives them power and all that type of stuff, right? Basically, this is Amalek, the Jewish people, tricking the rest of the Edomites into basically making them practice Kabbalah or Kabbalism, which is basically Jewish mysticism or Jewish witchcraft, which comes from the Talmudic books, right, which are not biblical at all. Okay, but these Freemasons, they think that they're basically accessing the same power of the angels, but they're not. They're ultimately accessing the power of the left-hand angels, the demons. Well, sorry for digressing, but here Albert Pike lets Giuseppe Mazzini know their plans for how they're going to take over the world, and he lays out the 3 world wars that they have planned to bring this initiative to fruition. Well, the part here that I want to focus on is this part, the World War III part. Notice how he's going to say that they're going to create 2 groups of people, okay, to basically bring in chaos. And now, right here, actually, let me just read the whole thing. And that way you can see this is literally what is happening right now. It says, the Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the adjuncture right? Basically the agents of the Illuminati, basically Freemasons and the bankers and all those people who secretly run the world, between the political Zionists, right, the Israelis, right, the people over there who are like Netanyahu and his all extremist cabinet, and the leaders of the Islamic world. So this is why we just heard that the Prince bin Salman, right, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, that there was an assassination attempt on his life. Now people are saying that if this is true, this is going to mean war, right? So again, this is going to be perfectly how the Islamic world comes in and ultimately fights against Israel. But again, it could also be the thing that's going on with the Palestinians, because not only are they destroying the last remnants of the Gaza Strip, but now they're also the Israelis are invading the West Bank. They're bringing in these military dozers, and I think just earlier today, there was a militarized bulldozer from the Israelis that got blown up. Okay, because again, what we're going to start seeing is we're going to see a lot more commotion and unrest coming from these Arab nations who are going to be upset about what's happening there and to the Palestinians, right? So that, along with the attempted assassination on what's his name? He has a KJV. I don't know, not KJV. Bin Salman, but basically the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. I'll find out later. So let's continue. It says, the war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and the political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. See, why do you think the Israelis are trying to move into Ukraine? Right? Because they understand that Israel is going to be destroyed, right? And their own plans are going to ultimately cause Israel to be decimated, but they're going to, get away scot-free in their new world order homeland, the Ukraine, which, again, remember, the Ukraine was Khazaria when these devils came out of the Caucasus Mountains and they dwelt there. Now they also have Kazakhstan, which is the New World Order headquarters, right, which is right next to Ukraine, I believe, and or close at least. But yeah, that's these devils' plan, man. They're going to just simply use Israel as a stepping stone, just like they're doing with America. They're using America as a stepping stone. Well, let's continue. It says, meanwhile, other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. Did we not just send like $91 billion to Ukraine, Taiwan, and Israel? That's economic exhaustion. Look at the crazy inflation that's hitting America and Canada and all these other countries who are giving these vast amounts of money to Ukraine that's basically being laundered back to the elites. You see, all this right here is taking place. Why do you think we've been constantly plagued with crisis after crisis after crisis after crisis? Because they are spiritually and morally trying to exhaust you, right? The moral exhaustion comes from all these drag queen story times, all the alphabet stories that you couldn't give a fuck about, but these devils keep shoving it down your throat. It's because of this, because they are trying to make you exhausted in every way, so that way they could bring in their solution. Well, let's continue. It says, we shall, and here's the point, okay? This is the point of these people trying to stand up and now talking about taking actions into their own hands. We shall unleash the nihilists, right? The nihilists are the people who just don't care. These are like the Antifa and stuff like that, right? And the atheists. The atheists are like the BLM, right? They don't believe in God. They're for LGBT rights, trans rights, all that type of stuff, right? They're anti-God. And we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all of its horrors shall show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origins of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Right? So all that just quit oil, people blocking the streets, all these, protesters around the world who are causing so much fucking chaos and disruption. What's going to happen after all those planned oppositions are done? Well, it says, then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization. So what we're seeing, those videos in the very beginning from, David DePape, the guy who attacked Nancy Pelosi's husband, right? He tried to kill him, and like he said, he tried to kill more people. He tried to get more of them, along with all those other people in those videos. They are getting ready to defend themselves, to exterminate those destroyers of civilization. But it ain't gonna happen for a little bit, because why? Because these devils have done a good job of sedating the people, right, with bread and circuses, and really people have it too good to the point where they're not going to get involved until they lose everything, until the bread and circuses are finished. Then you'll start seeing mass sedition and riots, right? But hey, it just takes the lights to go out or the economy to crash, right? But though it may take a little while, right? What does the Bible say? Though it tarry, wait for it, because it shall surely come. Because all these things that I'm talking about, they're on their way. We cannot go back to normal from this point, right? We have passed the Rubicon, Akim, right? We have passed the point of no return. Russia is not going to de-escalate its stance against NATO, talking about it's going to destroy NATO if NATO gets involved. NATO isn't going to step down and back down to Russia, China, or Iran, right? Israel, the Israelis aren't going to back down from their aggression towards Iran. The people are not going to back down anymore to these alternate lifestyles that are ramming their beliefs down their children's throats. So the thing is this is it. We are at that point, right? The end is manifest, and it is made abundantly clear through the signs and effects of what is going on right now. Okay? Continuing, it says, and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, because again, there's a reason why they allowed all these Catholic and Christian priests to molest kids. Well, besides it being a ritual for them, it's also a way for them to defame religion and ultimately besmirch the notion of the Bible in people's minds, because the majority of people in the world do not understand that the Bible and churches are not the same thing, right? Churches teach religion, which is a way to live your life according to something, and a lot of the time that something is the Bible, but a very small portion of the Bible, which is why whenever Christians try to debate Hebrew Israelites, they always get their asses handed to them, because they don't know the Bible, they know religion. Totally different things. So in this case here, people, right, we've seen the reports, right now is the highest point in human history where more people do not believe in God anymore. Okay? So that's what this is. And the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic, which means starving, spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. And what is that talking about? Do you guys remember when they canceled Roe versus Wade and they canceled all abortions for women? Do you remember how the Satanic Church came out and said that abortion was part of a religious right that its members enjoyed, and that if you still wanted to have an abortion, all you had to do was join the Satanist church? Now they did it tongue-in-cheek and they made it sound like it was a joke. But remember, truth is always hidden, or should I say not always, but it's a lot of times the truth is hidden in jokes. So that way it can be delivered easier. Let's continue. It says, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. This manifestation will result in the general reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. Albert Pike, August 15th, 1871. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. So, though these are plans of these Edomites to bring forward the New World Order, this has all been prophesied by the Lord, because it's the Lord's will that this takes place. And this is how the Lord is going to cause the Americans to rise up against the Americans. Okay, because that's what this means here. Egyptians against the Egyptians. Because when Isaiah was being shown these visions, he didn't know that the big cities that he was seeing, that he referred to as Babylon the Great, or that great city, right? Or the city, he didn't know it was called America, and he didn't know the people that he's seen fighting against it, and fighting against each other in this great city. He didn't know that they were Americans, or that they were in America. He didn't even know what America was. But what he did know is that there were huge cities out there, right? And that city was referred to as Egypt. So when he seen this vision, he was looking at Americans fighting each other in America, but all he seen was probably huge buildings and these people that looked like they were from the future or whatnot, right? They looked probably well off. So he was just like, oh, these must be Egyptians in Egypt fighting each other. So hence this is why he said Egyptian against the Egyptians. So this is what we mean when we say the modern day Egyptians are Americans, because that's what the Bible refers to as the inhabitants of America, right? The Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Chaldeans, the Nineveh, and there's so many comparisons that the Bible makes to the end time kingdom, so that you can read. And it says, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. So this is what's happening. This is what we are seeing these people in the very beginning starting to attack their fellow brother, right? Though it may be a citizen versus a councilman, or a citizen versus a prime minister. These are their brothers, spiritually, right? Same people. You got the Edomites versus the Edomites, right? They're kinsfolk, they're brethren. And this is ultimately what's taking place. We're starting to see the very beginning parts of this, but this ain't going to happen fully until we start seeing massive riots in the streets and just things like that. People coming up against the government because the government's obviously been sold out to these Amalekites. Okay? This is 2nd Ezra 15 and 16. For there shall be sedition amongst men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city, and shall not be able, for because of their pride the cities shall be troubled, the horses shall be destroyed, or the houses shall be destroyed, and the men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity on his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, and for great tribulation. And the modern day sword is ultimately just talking about weapons, guns, right? Rifles, handguns, shotguns, all that type of stuff, right? The weapons that we have today. And I'm sure we're going to see some Americans out there with swords, right? Especially over there in England. I think you just had somebody, think he was either Scottish or I think he was Scottish, but he got, or no, but he was in London though. I think he had a real fucking sword, and he killed like a 14-year-old kid, and he was like wielding it around, and they eventually, arrested his ass. But people may be using swords, right over there where they've outlawed guns, but here in America, this place is gonna be a shooting gallery. So this is Job 20:27. The heavens shall reveal his iniquity, and the earth shall rise up against him. So you see, the wicked that the earth has been given to, their reign is almost over. Okay, we are at the end of their rulership. Okay, and right now the heavens, through the satellites, are broadcasting all these videos, all these photos of horrible atrocities done to the Palestinians, and also you're seeing all these corruption cases being brought out. All of basically Esau's wickedness is being revealed, and that's pretty much it, Akim. So the beautiful thing is that the man of perdition, or the son of perdition, the man of sin, is being revealed, as the elder Malcolm said, right? And pretty soon things are going to go down, right? It says in Matthew's 10:16, it says, "Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves." Right? So, Akim, when we start seeing things go down, we got to be wise as doves and not get involved in it, right? Let's say people want to start fights with you, or you're getting called to join a protest. Don't go. Don't involve yourselves in the matters of the world. This is for the inhabitant. These events coming up are for the inhabitants of the world to be caught up in and mangled upon by. Okay, it's not for us to be involved in this. And harmless as doves, right? We are not to be, taking up arms or trying to come up and take down America ourselves. No, that's not for us to do. This is the place of our captivity, and we have to play this out to the Lord's letter, right? We have to, like it says in Zephaniah, we have to wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, until I rise up to the prey. Once the Lord shows up, that's when you can take the side of the Lord and start fighting if you want, right? Because you'll be given those new bodies, Lord willing, if you're part of the elect, right? It'll be your job to do the cleanup, right? And to take over the world. But until then, we just got to sit back, Akim, continue to watch our enemy's kingdom fall, and rejoice in what we're seeing, and preach this word. Tell our people who we are and wake them up. So it's lucky that I know this video was a little long, but hopefully it was edifying. So until next time, I want to give all honor and glory and praises to Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai B'Hashem Ruach HaKodesh. Shalom.